Ashok Sajjanar, who's a former diplomat, is joining us on the show. Irina Tsukerman, who's a national security lawyer and a geopolitical analyst, is also with us on the show. Good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. Irina, my first question to you. Israel has vowed that they are going to end this war in the way and manner they think fit. But what exactly is the end that we're talking about? While the destruction of Hamas that the Israeli Prime Minister has spoken about is well understood, but the kind of counteroffensive that we have seen in Gaza and along the West Bank has also raised a lot of concerns, and the concerns around it escalating into some kind of a regional conflict. Is there really an end that you can think when it comes to this particular conflict?
Israel has no choice but to reassert deterrence in Gaza. That is the first step to any more strategic and global objectives. They need to destroy any infrastructure that could be used to launch further attacks, and we have seen continuing attacks and rocket fire despite the operation, which means that they have not yet eliminated all these targets. They also need to destroy completely the mid-level leadership of the Hamas operatives in Gaza to disable their capabilities for the foreseeable future. Until this is done, we cannot talk about further objectives, but of course, in a greater sense, Hezbollah stands at the ready. We have seen movement of weapons towards Iraqi militias as well, and they have even threatened U.S. forces in the region. So all the terrorist organizations are watching very closely what happens. If Israel manages, despite all these obstacles, to achieve these initial tactical goals, it will be more difficult for others to coordinate and attack in the future. If Hamas's capabilities are disabled, it will take at least one actor out of the immediate equation. Israel needs to prevent itself from being encircled and from having to fight a multi-front war. So the sooner it achieves immediate goals, the better it can, the more time it has to prepare for a more strategic and more political offensive against regional terrorism.
Mr. Sajjanar, how do you see the actions by the Israelis? And as far as the Israeli territory is concerned, the terrorists have been flushed out, it's secured, there is no hostage-like situation that has emerged. But indeed, this has been one of the biggest security lapses ever since the formation of the country called Israel, and the country that prides itself on having one of the best intelligence services. This is also something that Israel is never going to forget, and it's absolutely clear with the statements that Benjamin Netanyahu has made recently. What is the direction in which you see this conflict heading to? We already have a long-standing war just in the heart of the Europe, and now is this another one brewing in West Asia?
Yeah, thank you very much, Anusha. And let me make two very quick points. Number one, I think the response and the reaction by Israel is what was expected. You know, Israel is like a wounded animal. It has been hurt in its own lair, in its own home. And of course, you know, this was totally unexpected, totally unanticipated. So the manner, the ferocity, and the manner in which Israel has gone after Hamas, I think that was to be expected. And this is what the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also had said, that they are going to, Israel is going to completely decimate, exterminate, and wipe out Hamas. Now, that having been said, I think it is easier said than done. Because as we have seen in Gaza Strip, meaning this is a small patch of land in which you have more than 2 million people. It's a concrete jungle. And I think as days pass, both politically, diplomatically, as well as militarily, I think it will become clear to Israel, and I think it's already becoming clear that, it cannot go on forever, because along with the Hamas leadership, it is also the innocent Gazans who are also, being, coming up as fodder in the attacks that Israel is launching there. So I think here it will have to be an assessment, and maybe they need to go in for targeted attacks, surgical strikes against the Hamas leadership,
Yeah.
I think that would be the first thing to go after it. Just completely razing north of Gaza to the ground. Maybe that will be more harmful to the Israeli interest rather than benefiting them. So targeted surgical strikes would might be the way to go forward, and this possibly could,
Yeah.
they would be looking at it going forward.
Irina, would you agree with that? That targeted strikes at the Hamas establishment or infrastructure that you were talking about is very important, that it should be decimated completely so that future attacks don't happen. However, if that differentiation is not made when those targeted attacks are carried out or when those attacks are carried out, it could not serve the Israeli interest in the best possible manner. Irina.
Well, Israel has started with surgical strikes, but as the situation has shown, it's impossible to completely achieve all of these military objectives through strikes alone, because precisely Gaza is a concrete jungle. These operatives hide in their holes, and they make it impossible to get at them unless you raise even civilian infrastructure. Hamas has buried itself in civilian infrastructure. Its headquarters are located in a crowded hospital. And furthermore, despite the fact that Israel has given multiple notices to civilians to evacuate, Hamas is holding these people hostage. It outright lied to them. It told them not to leave their homes, and it is working to ensure that the civilian death toll is as high as possible in order to deter Israel from meeting its objectives, in order to put the onus of international pressure on Israel because of the optics of civilians. Here, it's important to raise a point. If the international community were that interested in minimizing civilian toll, it would not have been supporting Hamas all these years, knowing fully well that they use civilian infrastructure in violation of every international law and civic norm in order to carry out attacks on civilians in Israel, and they would have put pressure on Hamas to stop from engaging in these tactics. But we do not see any pressure whatsoever in these circumstances.